get some windows that pop up and say my stream status and all that other stuff. Where are those docs? No, I don't know. Anyway, so we are just giving it a second to make sure that all the things connect and do the things that are supposed to happen for Pamcast. And as soon as we get the thumbs up from our production staff, Emily, we'll be good to go. And we got a thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. So that's awesome. That means that we are properly streaming. We got everything right. We're getting better at this. I mean, you think after doing it for a year and a half and running a company for 5.5 years that I would know how to do a live stream? But technology keeps changing. Me and my old age, being like a super old guy. Anyway, so this is Pamcast for July 15th, 2025. We're going to talk about stuff that has changed in the last month in Tech ID Manager, stuff that we expect to change in the next upcoming month, the state of the company, how things are, the state of privileged account management, and anything that I kind of might get sidetracked on, any tangents that I feel like taking based on life or company or partner interactions, anything like that. So I'll go ahead and bring up the... it would help if I was prepared and brought up the right agenda. So here's our agenda. These are the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to kind of work our way down through this, let you know where we are. We always start, as the same kind of format. So what have we been up to? We have been working for the last year and a month, last 13 months essentially, on and off on putting together for SOC 2, stuff for SOC 2 to compliance. It's never really been a high priority, just kind of been like this background thing that's been going on. And in amongst all the high priority partner changes, business stuff, doing TV show, releasing version 6, releasing version 5.5, SOC has just been like that in the background. When there's time, we work on it. Well, last month, we decided that SOC 2 compliance was something that should now be priority. All the other stuff that was in front of it has kind of worked its way through the hopper and is done. So we are making some pretty significant effort and priority on SOC 2 compliance. Thus, this is the first item that we're talking about, and it's also the picture right above my head. What is SOC 2 compliance? It's trust services criteria. There are 5 different areas of SOC 2: security, availability, confidentiality, processing integrity, and privacy. We already, just because we are security enthusiasts and we're professional developers, 90% of the stuff was already in place for SOC 2 compliance. The part that was not in place was the documenting, the process documentation, all that red tape that goes around SOC 2 compliance. The proof, the audits, the things like that. So those are what we, specifically me and other people, have been working on pretty intensely for the last 2 weeks. And we're going to be working on for the next month and a half, maybe 2 months. We expect to get the first SOC 2 audit available for people to see middle of September, 1st of October timeframe. So in 2 Pamcasts, I'll either be saying we're real close, or you can see our SOC 2 compliance by signing this NDA and all the other things that go along with that. It is an interesting journey. I've talked to many people, just on a side note, I've talked to many people about SOC 2 compliance, many different companies. Some that are willing to do it for a monthly fee, some that are just willing to hold the data, and some that are willing to do the audits. The price ranges on that are huge. They go from, 5 figures to 6 figures. The monthly costs for it go from 4 figures to 6 figures. I have friends whose full-time job is the compliance for the enterprise size company that they work at. Federal compliance and local compliance, the state compliance and private group compliance. It is a big thing. And it's an interesting thing because that is the basis for our product. We do highly compliant privileged account management for managed service providers. If you're here and listen to this, you know that. And that was quite the introduction to our SOC 2 compliance. There's a lot that goes into all the paperwork that goes around it. I've talked to people who have done SOC 2, who are in like head cybersecurity roles at companies who are SOC 2 compliant, who don't know anything about it. And it's just some check boxes in paperwork. I've seen this in several other SaaS companies that I've talked to when we were looking at SOC 2 compliance for early on. And it really turned me off a lot. Like, I would talk to some founders and they're like, hey, I would say, hey, what are you doing for SOC 2 compliance? I'm like, oh, I hired XYZ company. It's a few check boxes. I don't do anything about it. Didn't change the way the company works at all. Which is the way I think a lot of companies approach SOC 2 compliance as a checkbox. We are not approaching it that way. We are approaching SOC 2 compliance to actually make sure that we are doing everything that people that have been there and done it say you should do so that you don't end up in bad situations. And that's all I have to say about that. We're putting some effort into SOC 2 compliance pretty heavily. If you'd like to be kept up to date on our SOC 2 compliance journey and other things, we have a newsletter. You can sign up for it right there, ruffiansoftware.com/newsletter. We highly suggest, if you are interested in Tech ID Manager or Privilege Account Management or what happens in this company, sign up for our newsletter. It goes out, tells you everything that's going on. And that's kind of where we've been, what we've been up to, and the start of summer. Summer's beautiful here in upstate South Carolina. There's been quite a bit of time on the lake and enjoying the outdoors and hiking and stuff like that. So let's now talk about some of these. Let me get to the right spot here. Some of these new features that have come out this month, in the last month. We have added a notices page to ruffiansoftware.com. So if you go to ruffiansoftware.com/notices, you will see this. This is a list of customer-facing things that have happened or we are planning on having happen. You can see here that over the weekend we did 9:30 p.m. on July 13th. We did a server change to increase speed of access on several of our production servers. It might have caused, for some people, it caused a temporary outage as the IP address and the DNS entries updated. All functionality is fully restored by 11 p.m. Didn't have any issues with it. You can see today at 11 a.m. there was a Tech ID host release to fix an issue with new agents getting added to some tenants not working. These are notices. We are going to post here things that we know are coming up that might affect customers and things that have happened that affected customers from a company production DevOps perspective. Tech ID Agent Mac OS 6 was officially released. That means that if you go to the releases page, you will see Tech ID Agent.Mac 6093 was released. You can download this TGZ file. There is a script in it, and there are directions here on how to install and set it up. Essentially, extract it, and you run these commands. Very similar command lines with Client GUID and your Client GUID and other options as needed to install the Mac Tech ID Agent. If you are familiar with the Tech ID Agent Windows install or the domain service install, a lot of these options are going to be exactly the same. There are a few options which we do not have there because they don't make sense. Specifically, the OU is missing because there are no OUs in the authentication structure in the Mac. A few other similar things like the MSDS encryption type or some AD specific options that are not supported, so we don't have them. Everything else is there. So you can take this, try it out, run it, and when you install one of those agents and you have a new release of the Tech ID client installed, you will see little apples right here, 4 Mac agents that show up. All the types of Mac agents are supported. The shared agents, unique agents, and just-in-time. Both just-in-time on both unique and just-in-time on shared instances for accounts on Macs. If you have any questions, any issues, let us know, and we will address them. This is TechID client 6.114 that I have running here. Few minor changes. I'm always running the latest development release with a few iconic changes. You'll notice that in the releases that came out this month, some of the icons changed. We went from a machine to the Windows logo for Windows accounts because we've now added the Mac accounts. The domain accounts are now this. There's no real domain icon in the Microsoft environment. The closest one and the one that is most commonly used is this little server machine with a little triangle for some sort of tree structure. So that's what we adopted. They're most common, not their official. They don't have an official AD icon. The Entra ID icon, clearly have an official one. That's the one that we use. Same thing with Windows. I wanted, just a little tangent here, for this Windows icon to show the Windows accounts, I wanted the very classic Windows 3.1.1 wavy pixelated 4-color flag that looked like a window. That's the one I wanted to use, but as you read through the Microsoft standards and branding and marketing documentation and what you're allowed to use and not allowed to use icons for, you're not allowed to use that icon in the way that I wanted to use it here. So we go not so old school, we go with a much more modern Windows icon, which is just the 4 squares in the blue. That was the Mac release. We have done a few TechID host portal releases. We did one, like on the notices, we did one over the weekend and one today. There were a few others as we look back on the host. TechID portal host. There are a few others that were deployed for different reasons over the last month. I think that this one was before. Yes. Yeah. And then the TechID client Windows update. I just showed part of that. And as always, if you go to TechID clients, the Windows client 6.109 has some feature changes. Password edit UI changes and some minor UI cleanup. The password dialog edit changes, UI changes, I like a lot. If you use it for the password vault and you edit a password, all the icons are now beside in the places and scan the QR code. I like it a lot better. All those buttons were down here at the bottom before. You know, is what it is. Everybody has their own take on what GUIs should look like. That's our take. As a side note, all those, which is like a side note from a development perspective, a lot of the changes and releases that have gone out last month were around a collating and a bringing to parity the different clients and the different locations. The TechID client, mobile, Windows, and Mac now all share the same SVG icons as the base, and then there's part of our build process moves them out to other places and uses the same images. So where before there were some minor differences, which probably nobody non-OCD noticed, but I know a lot of the technicians that we deal with are OCD noticed and had reported that the icon here didn't exactly match the icon here. So those should all be correlated. They should all be fixed. And moving forward, if we change one icon, change the base source, it will change all the others. So that's kind of an overview, the boring technical stuff that we have done this past month. In fact, this morning the development team and I spent about 4 hours on the phone talking about what's coming up for this next month. And some of those things are listed here in the next time area. Next time, there is another secret agent coming. Just like the macOS agent was secret for a while, we have one in the works for another OS. Who knows which one? If you have any guesses, you can't win anything by guessing what it is. But if you want to put a guess down in the doobly-doos, the comments down below, we'll like it if it's the right answer. The TechID agent base version 6.0 has not yet been released. It is in the works, and there are 2 big features that are coming with the Entra ID base 6.0. The shared accounts, which I talked about last time, and it was in the works last time, but it didn't get completed. It didn't get production ready. And the group membership. Both of these are filling out, maturing the functionality of this Tech ID Manager Entra ID, specifically around more types of access control. There is a possibility, there's been a request that, it's not on our list right here, but I'll talk about it real quick. There is a request, and you can let me know in the doobly-doos or send an email to support@techidmanager.com if you think we should do this. There have been a request. We've seen lots of Reddit posts. We've seen several requests and had semi-emergency phone calls from our partners where someone is messing with conditional access policies in an Entra ID base. And they will inadvertently check some box that says only accounts from China, just to pick on China, are allowed to log into this Entra ID tenant. And then all of a sudden, all of their US-based accounts or admin accounts and everything is locked out. You can work with Microsoft to get this situation solved, but it is kind of tricky and kind of difficult, and they don't really want to help you with it. And I've heard it takes a while. It is possible for us to add to our agent the ability to make an account, an emergency break glass account, if everything else goes wrong, that is excluded from all conditional access policies for one-time use over a limited time frame. If that is something that you think you might want as a break glass way to get into your own Entra ID tenant that is attached to Tech ID Manager, let us know. In essence, you would go into the portal as a manager and you would say, break glass emergency need, add Entra ID account, and then you would get approval from someone, and we would make an account, exclude it from all conditional access policies, and leave it enabled for just long enough for you to get in, fix whatever's broken, and then that account gets disabled and locked away and never allowed to be enabled again. It is a break glass, get in, one time, fix things with lots of logging around it. That's possible. If this is important to you, let us know and we'll get working on it. All right. Next time also, we have a Tech ID client for the Mac OS with icons for Tech ID Agent in the Mac OS. I know this sounds super ridiculous, and I saw in the corner of my eye, our production staff just looked at me like, what are you talking about? I mean that the Mac version, which I'll drag on the screen here real quick, of the Tech ID client, which looks a lot like the Windows version, now has in it the Mac Agent logo. The Mac agents work with the older versions. They just won't have the logo. In the next week or so, there will be a new release put out through the App Store for Tech ID Client.macOS, which will have Mac icons for Tech ID Agent macOS. It's a little silly that our unloved redheaded stepchild of macOS is not getting the icons for the macOS before the Windows version got the icons for the macOS. But hey, we are who we are. It's our development process. We like to keep the macOS version locked in the closet for a while. All right. And then the last one down there, if I can move out of the way, the auto update for Tech ID Agent Windows is working. We are working on the server side, production push side of that, so that there will be an auto updater for Tech ID Agent Windows, and then soon after that we'll make an auto updater for the others as well. Not much I can say about this except that auto update is a pretty scary feature. I realize that like a lot of the Windows auto updates are required by quite a few security frameworks. Auto updating is a necessity, but it's also, in my opinion, a rather scary necessity, because auto update for every major manufacturer that has one has been hacked and been used to breach and exfiltrate data from end users. You can see this. This was from it's happened to SolarWinds, it's happened to Microsoft, it's happened to CloudStrike, it's happened to LastPass, it's happened to Keeper, it's happened to a ton of software auto updates. So this is something that is taking longer because of the significant security aspects around it. And our desire to never be pointed at as you are the vendor that caused the breach. We work really hard not to be that vendor. Everything from the underlying architecture of asymmetric encryption through the significant eye that we put towards security and security management as we do our releases. All right. So that's the whole agenda. That's kind of like what we've been up to, what we're going to be up to. Every time that I do one of these Pamcasts, it kind of feels like we haven't really done that much in the last month, or we're not really don't have that much planned for the next month. But when I look at them in their entirety over the last year and a half that we've been doing them, and I look at them, it is truly a lot that is being accomplished, in my opinion. And we are happy that y'all are here, happy that you've joined us for this ride. Privileged Account Management is Tech ID Manager. Like I said, if you have any questions, put them down below, and we will attempt to answer them next time. Or you can always email support@techidmanagers.com, and we'll get back to you. So that's Pamcast for today. I hope you have a great day.